Okay, so from my course at Kopan Monastery, one topic that I really loved was talking about emptiness, which can be so hard to grasp, quite literally, and just like in the mind because it's so complex and obviously it's not something that we can like see. So they gave us this book when we started our course. It's by Lama Zopa Rinpoche. I hope I didn't butcher that, but he's one of the master teachers from the lineage that I learned from. So I didn't learn directly from him, but my teachers learned from him. So let's start with some of his words. So he says, now I'm going to elaborate a little bit on the subject of emptiness. The way in which everything exists is by being merely labeled by the mind. But that does not mean that everything the mind labels actually exists. Even though everything exists by being merely labeled by the mind, that does not mean if your mind labels something, it automatically comes into existence. For things to exist, mere labeling by the mind is not enough. There has to be a valid base. Not just any base, a valid base. Therefore, I cannot label my bell a car. The object can receive a label bell, but not car or plane. It receives the label bell by virtue of the way the valid base functions. So that was a lot in itself. Let's dig into it. So, throughout the course, we talked about this idea of emptiness, that there is a conventional existence and then there is the ultimate existence or reality. So, shunyata, emptiness, the absence of or lack of inherent existence. So, when we do this and talk about this subject, our teacher kind of reminded us beware of falling into nihilism, right? The idea that like nothing exists. And also beware of like you can't label anything, just like Rippershey just shared in the book, right? You can't label a bell, a car, or an airplane because if anything can be anything, then everything is nothing, right? Like if this scarf is a laptop and this sweatshirt is a cup, it's like, well, that's not true because the function of a laptop isn't the same valid base of what this scarf is, and this sweater doesn't have the same valid base or function of what a cup is. And we have this worldly convention, right, which helps us identify and label things, right? So we all have a understanding of the function of a cup, right? A cup is usually filled with tea or water or some sort of liquid that's used for drinking or eating out of, maybe soup, right? So we all have this conventional view, a worldly convention of what the use of a cup is, which means that when someone says, hey, this is a sweatshirt, we're all like, no, you're wrong, right? We're like, no, you're wrong. We've all agreed that a cup has a different valid base than what a sweatshirt does. So, a quote that our teacher shared with us: the Buddha did not come to argue with the world, right? So the Buddha is inviting us into a deeper philosophical view of the world, but he's also not here to say that like everything is wrong, nothing exists. So we want to identify the object of negation. What does that look like? What does that mean? So we have the basis of designation, and then the mind applies a label to the base. So again, this scarf is the basis of designation, and my mind is applying a label to the base, right? Based on the scarf wrapping around my shoulders, over my head, it serves as a scarf. And I think that you would agree with me that this is a scarf. It might have different names, a shawl, a pashmina, a scarf, but relatively the same. And some people might have different ideas of similar things. So one example that we used in the course is the letter N. N as in Nancy, right? So in Roman numeral letters, we know it as an N. Most English speakers know it as an end. Now, we did have some Russians in our course, and H is the letter N in Russian. So if you look at the letter H, that's known as the letter N. So now we have something interesting where N is N to English speakers, but H is N to Russian speakers, which is fine. We have two bases of designations, and the different minds, based on their causes and conditions, apply a different label to the base. How are we feeling? This is a lot. This was like we spent probably an hour on this, and I just tried to explain what I have understood of that in 3 minutes. And please, anything that I'm sharing, analyze and investigate it yourself. This is just based on my notes for my course and what I took away from that experience, and the wisdom that I retained. And I'm also making the video because it helps me kind of understand a little bit more. And if you guys have questions, comments, or new ideas or wisdom to share, please comment. I would love to hear your thoughts on all of this. So, if the label does not exist in the mind, then the thing does not exist inherently. Is that true? Question for you to ponder on. So, the illusion is that it appears inherent, yet it appears on the basis of the mind, right? So, this sweatshirt appears inherently real. It's on me, it's wrapped around me, yet it appears based on my mind. My mind knows a sweatshirt as a sweatshirt. My mind knows a good sweatshirt when it sees one. So, the illusion appears that it is inherently true, right? Inherent just means intrinsic or independent from its own side, if you will, right? So now we're going to take this a step further. Let's talk about I, the concept of I, me, mine, right? So if we're taking inherent oneness, right, and inherent difference, let's talk about those before we go into the concept of I. Inherent oneness is exactly identical in every way. So I have this spoon from my coffee this morning. I have this spoon. Imagine I had two spoons side by side, completely identical, two spoons. That means that there is an inherent oneness about them, right? They are the same. They have the same function. They do the exact same thing. They're made of the same metal. They have the same scoop. They have the same handle. Everything's the same about them. Inherent oneness, two spoons, right? Even the same engravings on the back. Two spoons, inherent oneness. Now, inherent difference would be the two things that are completely unrelated. So this spoon and my scarf that I have on, inherent difference. They have no relation to each other, right? I can use the spoon by itself. I can use the scarf by itself. I do not need one to use the other. Okay? So unrelated, inherent difference, and then identical in every way, inherent oneness. Now, when we talk about this idea of I, think about yourself. You have your mind, your body, and notice how I say your. So you have your body, you have your mind, and then there's the you. There's the I that owns the body and that owns the mind, right? So 3 parts of yourself: mind, body, I, right? So now think about what I just mentioned: inherent difference and inherent oneness. The mind, the body, and I are neither one of those. So this is where we start to tap into this sense of emptiness. Think about it. The I is not the same as the body, is not the same as the I, right? My body has certain functions. I'm holding this mic right now. I'm sitting in this chair. My body is doing those things. My body is making hand gestures. My body is speaking. My lips are moving, right? And then my mind is thinking, my mind is creating the language and the words that are coming out, right? My mind is sending signals to my heart to keep beating right now. So the mind and the body are different, and I am different, right? I can observe right now that I am sitting. I can observe right now that my brain is working, my mind is working, but I am separate. Right? I can observe all of that and am separate. So, we're going to go into a meditation practice to evoke the I and recognize where it comes from, because it's not as easy, at least for me, to analyze this, but to see it in a meditation practice, I find, is the easiest way. So it will be a short practice, maybe just 5 minutes max. So let's start to make yourself comfortable. Whether you're seated in a chair, on the floor, just find a nice tall spine. Whether you're crossing your legs, you can do so, or ground your feet to the earth, relax your shoulders, and if it feels good, you can close down your eyes. All right, you just took in all of that information. So let's just let it settle. Taking a nice deep breath in through your nose. And sigh it out. Again, take a nice deep breath in. And let it go. One more time, take a full breath in. And release it out. Let your shoulders soften. Relax your forehead and the muscles and the nerves around your eyes. Now here we talked about emptiness. And first, when speaking of emptiness, we want to identify the object of negation. How do we understand this object of negation? How do we evoke it? Take a nice deep breath. And as you exhale, letting everything soften. So we are going to evoke the I, which is our object of negation. So I want you to imagine, maybe you can remember a specific memory, or you can just imagine that you are being falsely accused of something. Right? And immediately your reaction is, I didn't do it. Not me. Explore where that I is coming from. Is the I independent of the body and the mind? I didn't do it. Not me. Where is the I? Is it independent of the body and the mind? Once more, just start to imagine that you are on a cliff now. So you're standing on the edge of a cliff. You're about to fall. And you can feel that teetering. And you can say, I'm going to fall. I'm going to fall. What is it that's going to fall? Just think. Your body's going to fall. Your mind's going to fall. But you say, I'm going to fall. Where is the I? And is it independent of the body, the mind? And just allow yourself to ponder the possibilities. Where is the I? Who is I? The one that maybe observes behind it all, the awareness behind it all. What is it to you? And just take 2 more breaths here. And when you're ready, you can start to slowly come back to your body and softly reawaken. Blinking open your eyes and coming back. Now maybe you take some time to journal. Where is the I that you know? How is it one with or without the body and the mind? How is it connected to? How is it dependent or independent of? Right? We talked about it's not inherent oneness and it's not inherent difference. It's not completely unrelated, right? We need it all to function, but it's also not oneness. It's not the same exact thing. So then what is it, right? And that's where we start to step into this idea of emptiness or shunyata that we talk about in Sanskrit. when I did a similar meditation, a little bit longer. We did about 45 minutes on emptiness. I'll share with you my reflections that came to me. So as we searched for I found I am the personified experiences through the causes and conditions of Gabby Jean. Through her experience, I am able to exist. The collective consciousness, this invisible web of knowing that flows through all things, through her eyes, I become I. I am also all sentient beings experiencing myself through everyone. But they do not see that I am the same because their causes and conditions are different. So they believe they are different. Again, that was just my own reflection after meditating for 45 minutes on I, the object of negation. So notice what comes up for you. And if you're even called to sit with this a little bit longer, just go in and explore. Who am I? Where am I? Am I in the body? Am I in the mind? How do I relate to I? All right. Thank you. Thanks for joining and connecting. Again, if you have any questions, comments, ideas, things that came up for you, please leave a comment. I'm interested to hear from you. Everyone's perspectives on this are so different. But it's interesting to explore this when speaking of emptiness. And it's so profound, but and complex. But in doing this, we connect a little bit more with the ultimate reality. All right. See you in the next one.